All right, welcome back to another episode of Roll for Story, the Sevenfold Maze arc. So, you guys last week mostly prepared your performance for the Great Khan talent show, and you got together a massive prop boat. You hired some earth elementals, and you also got the performance of a lifetime from the actor who works under Haran. He's now taken on. He's like the method actor. He's now taken on the persona of the Sultan. And Doshi explained some of the other rules. You kind of come up with some sort of defensive measures against potential other performances, and then you retired back to the Haran's estate where you underwent some meetings. The first being with what's his name?
No, the first was with Thingy the Truthful.
Yes. Thingy. No, her name is Wolniu, the Truthful.
Yep.
She was trying to set up a fight with the Brookeye Mule.
Yeah, which we were.
Negotiations sort of went to the wayside because we didn't have Kesh'an with us.
Well, they also
then-
sort of went to the wayside because they wanted the fight to happen, but Kesh'an to take a dive, basically.
Yeah, I'll explain that in a second for him. And then there was Shakif the Quiet, who, of course, was organizing some sort of rental of one of his slaves, the goblin Jukmug. And instead, you exchanged Jukmug for Eirina for her use in scholarly endeavors. So that's kind of what we done last session. But before we do that, we're going to go back and retcon into the Great Khan stage because I know Elias and Kesh'an, you were given the opportunity to do any preparations for the actual performance itself. So I'm going to take you back there real quick. I don't know, you've probably got it all planned out in your head, Elias, but was there anything else you wanted to add, or did Kesh'an want to have some input here for the actual stage directions and such?
I don't believe so, no. We were just planning on doing something reasonably acrobatic.
So, need a wall at the back.
Uh-huh.
Because that is
Like
where
this?
the green. Yeah, where the green sits. That's gonna be
Longer?
longish. Yeah, it's where the green screen is gonna be.
Okay.
Green screen.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. There's gonna be platforms that come out of that wall. There's gonna be platforms that come out of the floor. They need to be prepared for raising and lowering large platform and
Okay,
sections.
you need a large one.
Yeah.
A central one. Okay.
And I doubt you're going to be able to put this across. It won't be yet. It'll be happening throughout the performance. But they'll also need to be able to create a travelator. So basically,
Okay.
the earth underneath the floor is going to be moving one way, and then the earth on top of the floor is going to be moving the opposite way. So as fast as Kesh'an runs, it's going to keep him in place.
So
When
basically,
you
a
said
treadmill.
travelator, my brain immediately went gladiators, like the obstacle course, the one that goes
Yeah.
like almost vertical.
Like that, but not vertical. It's just on the floor. Like you get
The ones at the, like airports.
Yeah.
But if it's going to be, no matter how fast he goes, keeps him in place, it's basically a treadmill, right? At that point.
Yeah. They've got to keep up with him. But he's gonna have to run slower than his usual bolt
Oh god.
neck speed.
Platform's way too big.
But the idea
Okay.
is there's gonna be scenes moving in the background, and Kesh'an is gonna look like he's running through the scenes because he's gonna be kept on the spot. So I'd say the background is gonna be changing, not the
Right, yeah. So there's not much I can do verticality.
no.
Verticality. Never mind. What? So yeah, you can just basically have that sort of setup and some platforms,
Yeah.
some buildings like this, then that come out.
And then there's
Cool.
gonna be a wall that he actually does climb over, but not.
Oh,
Yeah. So there will actually be a wall at the end. He will actually meet a wall.
okay. I am wall.
But then, as he's climbing up the wall, it's going to be a vertical travelator to simulate him
Oh my
climbing up the wall
Interesting.
until he gets to the top of the wall. And then they're going to flip the wall over. So when he does climb over it, it's like him climbing over a wall.
Gotcha. Okay. So
And
we've got the pillars, we've got the walls.
I don't know exactly
And
how you're going to be doing this, but there is going to be jumps. There is going to be climbing. I expect Kesh'an to perform this well, so he's going to have to make some checks.
gotcha. And you
And
wanted
there-
one big wall at the end, didn't you? I just remembered.
Yeah. Well, it'd be like...
You want a big kind of like barrier at the end.
yeah, well, it'd be like here. So I think, I don't know if you can actually see that. I don't have
Yeah,
pencil.
here. Do you want us
Yeah, that's the wall.
in the
That's
direction of the calm here?
yeah, that's the wall that's going to be moving as he climbs up it.
Yeah. I was talking about the wall for the explosion.
Oh yeah, he can dive behind that for cover.
Maybe I'll just bring up another one. Yeah, this will do.
But these are going to be put into place throughout the performance. It's not going to just be there always.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So we've got background wall where the green screen is going to be, travelator, an actual wall he's going to climb up. There's going to be pillars that come out of the wall that he's going to jump across. He's going to run up some steps. That's going to happen. They're going to be onto the big platform, and then the platform's going to lower down for everyone to be able to see.
Okay. All right. So you basically get these Earth Genasi and Earth Elementals to. You've got a number of them as basically stagehands.
Yeah.
And they begin shaping pillars and walls underneath the actual stage so that they can all be rose up when the time is right. And they're quite well blended into the earth itself. So you can't really tell that the stage has been sort of manipulated or anything. But
Yeah. The only wall that needs to be set is the one that's gonna have the major image on it.
yeah, all right. So you leave that one up there.
Yeah, and it's gonna look like a castle brick wall sort of thing. And that's it, really.
Oh, okay. So actually, you want me to use this one, if anything?
Yeah.
That one looks better.
Because then when I actually have to drop my major image, it's already set for the scene.
Yep. Cool. Okay. All right. So with all those set up, you begin just rehearsing and practicing, manipulating the images, raising the platforms out of the ground, etc.
Yeah.
During like about halfway during your rehearsal, you do see there are several Dao that bring over large boulders, and they place them on one segment of the stage. It seems. Looks like they too are also preparing some sort of prop.
Nice.
But you can even see at some point, I think, someone goes over to investigate them with Takla, I think it was, and they do appear to just be mundane-looking rocks. Nothing seems to be extraordinary about them or special.
Yeah. I thought
Just
they might
large
be.
boulders.
I thought they might be Galabdur.
Look what's happening
Yeah.
over here. That's so
That would be
cool.
cool.
Your foggy boat.
Yep.
Yep, they got the
Well,
they got the boat for that.
the fog was basically to hide it while we were doing setup, essentially. Because the fog won't actually be there because I'm the only one who can produce it, and I won't be there.
Oh yeah, true.
This is interesting.
Yes,
I'm
that
lo- I'm
fog's
lo-
just merely temporary.
I'm looking forward to it.
You know, I don't even know how to get rid of the fog.
Yeah, weirdly, I don't seem to have the option for it. It should be a
The fog
template
is
I
just-
can select.
The
Like
fog
that.
is now like permanent.
Uh,
Oh well, it creates a nice little mist under the boat.
Yes.
Oh, I know why. I know why.
Somehow Karius has discovered a way to make his fog cloud into a permanent
It's-
terrible
It's
thing.
overhead. That's why it was a roof tile. Okay, cool. Some waves for you. All right. After that, then you head back to Haran the Gracious estate, and during which Kesh'an is given a bit of an option here. During one of the meetings, Walnew the Truthful, who is a Dao pit fight organizer, she's the owner of the Brookite Mule, that barbarian dwarf. And she basically has offered to do an exhibition match. The Brookite Mule versus you. However, she's hinted at if you take the fall, she will give you some sort of favor or allow you to get a meeting with one of the members of the Great Khan's council. One of those members could be Sharizu. The party kind of just said that they would think about it. But if you wanted to add anything to that,
Well,
discuss it with your party.
if the dive is worth, it'll be considered. But if it's not beneficial at all, it's just humiliating, and it will just ruin the name of the story.
Yeah, that was sort of what Karius sort of didn't say, but it was why he didn't immediately agree to it, because whilst getting a meeting with the person who knows all the names of all the slaves would be useful, we don't know how much we'll get out of them, and obviously if you're looking to sort of honor Ladorfu and the Frozen Flame Path, purposefully losing a fight didn't fit that in my head, which is why I wasn't that makes complete sense, because Kesh'an would totally do that. It's just like,
No, we left it in the air.
Yeah.
I would say I probably message this to Kesh'an. Agree to it, because then if you do lose, at least it looks like you took a dive. But try not to lose.
But isn't that just going to anger them?
What?
Us lying to say that I'm going to die.
Yeah, but
I'll probably piss them off more than me decking whoever they throw at me.
Well, be the Brookite Mule there.
If you agree to it and you lose when you're fighting as you should, then at least it looks that way anyway, so you'll gain the favour, but just fight as you would and try and win. They're going to be angry at you if you don't take a dive anyway. And if you say no to them, they'll just be angry anyway.
If you don't take a dive, clearly you'll have won the match. The winnings will be yours, but yeah, you don't expect
Yeah, if you don't agree to
one you to basically uphold the rest of the bargain.
yeah, if you
The
if you
deal is she gets you an audience with one of the council members, and you take the fall.
what's the other option? You say no, and the fight doesn't happen. Is that what it is, or
No,
You can turn it down entirely.
Make our own way up and get our own audience. Like, this
yeah.
is what this whole thing is all about. This whole performance is to get an audience.
And
So-
to be honest, getting an audience with the Khan over is probably more important than getting one with Shirizu. Because
Yeah.
our favour from the Khan could be all the information we need.
I'd much rather earn the audience rather than let somebody destroy not only my name but the party's name.
Yeah.
which is why I'm saying not to actually take the fall, but just say you will, because then
Yeah.
you
The
fight,
I see.
you win. That's great.
Uh,
You fight, you lose, and you just happen to hold up the bargain.
But the problem is, if we go in and actually get into the voice, if we go in and sort of fight the fight and we win, then we're gonna piss Warneo off. And considering she's got favour with all the council members, or at least some of them, that then puts us on the wrong side of a powerful individual.
I mean,
But
I don't mind hitting on the bad guys, but at the end of the day, if we do piss them off and they are influential, then that's just going to put us in more shit than we want.
Yeah, and to be honest, if I feel this performance is going to get us ahead enough, and we don't have to make this decision till after the performance anyway. As I believe that was the agreement, Chris, from memory, is that she'd be willing to discuss it after the performance took place.
That's right. Yeah, that's why I say it's kind of left in the air.
Yeah.
You can still decide later.
Or perhaps, to be more accurate, it was left in the earth.
Yeah, see what the performance gets us first, and if it doesn't get us what we want, then consider this.
Yeah. Because
Okay.
we don't know what's going to happen at the performance. Planning too far ahead. And to be honest, if we're planning for what happens if we lose and we need to get a favour from someone else, then we're probably going to lose. We should plan to win the performance.
Oh, I fully intend to win.
Yeah. You're going to have tough competition against Andi and Eirina, I reckon.
I agree.
Mm.
Doesn't mean I
So-
won't try.
And also you've
that
got
was
a
something I was-
three-armed juggler.
Speaking of threes, your act needs to be sort of split into 3 acts, effectively.
Beginning,
And
middle, and end sort of thing.
yeah, that way it's because what we'll do is the actual performance will go like in initiative order, and each turn will be 1/3 of your performance.
That makes sense.
Okay.
So what,
So
like,
then-
we each get like a minute each? Sort of thing.
No, the turns aren't 6 seconds or anything. The turns are a non-disclosed amount of time, but what it does do is it allows us to split it into 3 segments, allows multiple things to be happening at once whilst you're in each act, and you're deciding on what you're doing defensively or offensively during that, because there are other performances that might try to distract you, or they might do other things that might influence your act. So you have to think mechanically how you're going to do each act, whether you want to go on the offense or defense, that kind of thing.
Yeah. But the problem, of course, is that the offense and defense can't be directly offense and defense. It has to, if you do an offensive move, something like a big bright flash to surprise people, for example, that to throw them off, rather than I throw a boulder in your face.
Oh, we could just win legit.
You can totally do that, but you'll be the higher you go for just win, the more people will try to perhaps go for you.
Yeah, so you probably, if you don't want to go for offensive, you probably want to have some defensive moves prepared in case like something's thrown at you, for example. That'd be my advice.
Sadly, Doshi, sorry, not Doshi. Uti didn't really find out much about the others.
He didn't
About their performances. Otherwise, they would have given you way more information to like play with. But now you're gonna have to wing it more so than anything.
We know there's a juggler who's a Zorn. We know there's this mysterious race that we don't know what is, who is a Lithomancer. And I believe we still need to hear back from Uti on the third one, because he did quite well on his stealth check for the last one.
Yes, you're right, actually.
I can't remember how good it was. I think I rolled like a 15 or something. Yeah, 15.
Oh yeah, 15. Okay, we'll get to that in a bit.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. For now, I guess it'll probably come. It'll come to light when you actually perform. I guess you'll see what kind of things get thrown at you. But in the meantime, then, the second meeting you guys had, you tried to get Jugmug, but I think, yeah, you didn't fail to persuade him. But I don't think he wants to just willingly give over his best fighter for monetary value. He doesn't seem to be motivated by money.
No, he seems to be motivated from a more like academic standpoint. If we had some sort of valuable information for him, he might be willing to do a more permanent trade. But I mean, that is one of the things that's perhaps the most interesting about him, is that despite all this academic stuff, he's still very invested in the fighting pits. There's a bit of a story there, I reckon. If he doesn't care about the money, why does he care about having a prize-winning pit fighter?
Indeed. Okay. Well, you guys are milling around in the estate right now. You just finished those meetings. Although Eirina's the only one not present, Eirina's been taken away to Shakef's estate. Or actually, he's got more like a dojo, as I mentioned.
I was gonna say, you say she was taken away. She volunteered.
Taken, chained up. She got lifted up by one of those, like the actual tiles themselves lifted up your armchair. You're still sat in it, in fact. Okay.
I'm tempted to send Tackler with her, even though I'll put her out of range. She'll at least have a friendly face and potential way to contact us. Yeah, I'll send Tackler. That way, at least she's got backup.
Tackler's not invisible or anything, is he?
No, he'll just sit on the shoulder. Though recently he's been rolling so good at stuff, nobody notices him.
That is actually very true. He's been a bit of a secret agent.
Yep, he's Secret Agent Dragon.
Okay, so if you want, then we can start with that. You're basically hovered along through the Tri-Market, past these pillars of marble, these giant crystals glowing this kind of amber light. And as you follow along, he's just seemingly hovering himself as well, still kind of cross-legged. And he's very quiet the whole way, as his name would suggest. Doesn't really say much of a word. But at some point, you finally come out of the Tri-Market into a longer tunnel. And he signals to several Dao who seem to be operating these large stone gates. They're like a massive round disc of like earth, and in the center there seems to be this glowing gem. And he hands a few gems of himself of his own to these Dao. At which point they kind of nod, and together they both kind of heave this huge metal stone disc away, kind of rolls away. And as it does that, you see the light in the center sort of dim out. And as it's rolled away, you see another kind of maze-like structure ahead of you. This one goes up and down in certain directions. You got stairs leading to countless balconies, and just going through here, it truly is a labyrinth-like interior. Not to the point where it's mind-boggling, but you wouldn't be able to keep track of it at this rate. The way how fast they're kind of going through it, and at
How
some
long?
you're on this.
Just
Hmm?
curious. How long does this collective journey take roughly?
It takes at least a half an hour. Not
Okay.
because of the length that you have to go, but more because you have to wait for these doors to be shifted and turned.
If that's the case, because obviously we're not walking, I'm going to sit on my floaty disc and start translating some of this dragon book because I've not done it in a while and I have free time and I'm not walking, so I don't have to worry about walking into anything.
Yeah, you're not walking anywhere. You're already on a floaty.
That's what I mean.
Floaty
So
farm, yeah.
that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set out my books and
Yep.
start working while we're going.
And Tapclay's just going to chat to you, maybe help with the translation app being a dragon.
He's a dragon. It makes sense.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, you begin to translate the histories of the blue dragonfly, which migrated from the far, far west. And was there actually something you wanted to learn about that as you were doing it? Or you just
No, it's just to use up the time.
got the
And
time?
obviously, if I do
Okay.
think of a specific question, I'll do outside a game to
Gotcha.
find out.
Okay. All right then. So yeah, as you're beginning to do that, he
I
does
don't
seem to
want to
take
segue what we're doing right now.
yeah, he does seem to take notice as he's hovering along, and seems like he's sort of almost impressed. You're making use of the time at the very least, and that you truly are, as the party claim to be, quite the scholar. And as he notices that you're translating things, he says, "Hmm. So you're a translator as well as a scholar."
I will pick up a bit of paper and write down only in writing.
That is all I require. It seems I do have a use for you, after all. At first I thought I'd just have you organize my libraries, but now I see another use for you. And he says, we're almost here. And at some point, you see that the maze comes to a complete dead end. And he kind of looks down to the ground. And he clasps his hands together and then pulls them apart very slowly. Yeah, as he does that, you do see the ceiling open up, and there is a massive spiral staircase that begins to descend all the way down. But he doesn't seem to take the stairs. He simply hovers down on the platform that's kind of lowering with you, and you see a kind of a bird's eye view of this large stone dojo. There are several platforms sort of also hover around the dojo as well. On each one, you can sort of see there is sort of training grounds. There's also meditative like gardens, but the gardens are more like they're less natural and more like Zen gardens where you can see these sands sort of swirled into patterns, and you can see round sculptures of rocks that are almost like perfectly smooth, and they seem to have a reflection to them. As you hover down, you see the light play off of these circular sculptures, spherical sculptures, I should say. And then finally, you lower down right onto the ground where you see this massive archway of this dojo, and it's encrusted with kind of like a thin layer of like chalk, but you're not sure whether that's intended or if it's just sort of seen the wall, like seen like bits of
That's dust.
detritus fall from the ceiling. Yeah, it looks like dust, but I guess it's chalk instead. Maybe the ceiling has sort of crumbled a bit and just sort of simmered down onto it. So there's this layer of chalk over everything, and as he kind of whooshes forward, he kicks up some of this chalk into a cloud, and then he rises up to the door and he pulls out some sort of talisman, and he places it into a locking mechanism on the dojo's gate, and it finally swirls open, almost like
How
an
thick is the
iris.
dust? Like layer-wise, how thick is it?
Thicker, I guess. Not terribly thick, but enough that you can see a contrast of colors.
Okay, I kind of
Oh, it's
want
enough
to
that you-
like
yeah.
grab a scrap of fabric from one of my pockets and sort of wipe it along so I can
Sure.
take a little bit of it. I don't
Yeah,
know what
sure.
it is. I want to find out.
Yeah, okay. So you wipe up this strange chalky substance, and yeah, you've got
Pop it
some
up,
in your.
stick it back in the pocket.
Cool. All right. Doesn't seem to take notice as he's doing the mechanism of the door at the moment. But as you finally enter into the dojo, it seems almost like it's a larger space on the inside. It looked very modest from the outside, but on the interior, it seemed much more expansive. Um, but you can already tell the first level is sort of again like a training ground. You can see kind of a sand pit where there actually are a number of fighters already kind of training, but they seem to be all synchronized. They're not fighting each other. They seem to be going through an exercise, and one of the leaders or senseis, you could say, of this group suddenly acknowledges the return of the Tao master, and they all suddenly pause, turn, and take a bow to him. And it seems like he garners quite a lot of respect from his slaves, although they don't necessarily look like slaves. To you, it looks like you would see, um, acolytes or monks in a temple, but nonetheless, he kind of holds up a hand, and they resume training, and yeah, he hovers around. That's the first level, and then there's the balcony, and you can see on the balcony there does seem to be some sort of like library on the second half, filled with these stone bookshelves. Some of them are actually on hovering platforms, and they seem to slowly circle one another. And you can see scrolls are fitted into these circular holes on the shelves. But he turns and says, "Welcome to my dojo. You are mostly going to be on the second floor. But if you have questions for me, then you can always ask one of my assistants from the first floor, and they will fetch me for you. But come, I'll show you. I'll show you the thing I have in mind for you." And as he goes over to one of these large pillars, they sort of fall down from the ground and act as an elevator for you, which raises you up to the second balcony. And when you get up here, you see he kind of clicks his fingers, and you see several more smaller stone discs fly out and begin hovering in a almost very meditative like pattern, and they act as stepping stones to different balconies and to different shelves that are sort of hovering there.
Irina's eyes are like literally like saucers. She's just trying to contain all her excitement. Like looking around from like one shelf to another and just be like
says, many of these scrolls are as old as I am. Some of them contain maps. I was a traveler in my younger days. I would try to explore and chart the endless maze. The Dismal Delve is a vast and, well, the expanse is several hundred times larger than your material world.
Have you ever been to the material world?
I have, yes.
How long
He
ago?
smiles. I have a number of patrons there.
You do?
Oh, what's the word? Yeah, he's the patron. So he says, yeah, I've got a number of loyal subjects. They serve me from the material plane.
Really?
Yes, and in return, I offer them training, a way to hone their minds, their bodies, and perhaps even their magic. But anyways, you're interested in learning.
Yes. I'm a librarian by trade. It's what I did in the material.
See that you actually own one of my older maps. The problem with trying to chart the maze is that it is not one set thing. It is constantly shifting. You have to adapt. You have to improve, overcome.
That's what we heard when we came down.
Hmm.
That's one of the reasons we came down here in the first place.
The Dao themselves are of brilliant minds. They have somehow managed to create a maze that, although is ever shifting, it is readable. It is navigatable through certain measures, and only the Dao have mastered those. Everyone else is almost as good as being blind in those mazes. It's a very humbling experience.
I mean, I did have a theory about this place in general, being someone who's not from here. But just of what I've seen in the last sort of 2 days and what I've felt going through it. And I get like a bit of paper and like an ink because it's really like exciting to have someone who would actually get what I'm talking about as I explain it and be kind of like someone who's lived down here, almost hearing it from like an outsider's point of view. So there's the thing about like obviously the entrance to this place, like moving just in general along, what would you say, like an equator sort of situation, but it's not the equator. But it moves constantly depending on the time of year and such and such. And then like coming in and the sounds and the effect of gravity and the way things turn and twist and move and change and the way people sort of come out from within like the walls and things like that. It's almost like the entire thing is one giant creature and it travels and it worms its way and like all the things inside it are like living organisms and it's just like one giant ecosystem keeping this thing alive and moving. Like all the gravity changes is just this thing burrowing and twisting and turning and...
That is an interesting theory. The tremors are like the heartbeats.
Or a hungry stomach, but either way.
He nods in agreement with that theory. He says, there are those who are less skeptical and more Well, they truly believe that theory. And he says, if Yakmag was here, he would tell you of his beliefs. He is from a tribe that worship a deity, a entity that they believe is the earth itself, but lives, breathes the earth. The elements themselves, I guess.
I've known people like that as well. In the material, there are people who worship the elements, and there's a whole big like symbol thing for it, which has like many branches and whatnot.
He has told me stories that this earth is very much alive, but that it is trapped. That it is this place, this plane of existence, the earth, the maze, everything. It was constructed as a prison. It would make sense. The shifting maze, the crushing earth, certainly makes for a high security measure. And what better irony that the Tao themselves are, of course, slavers, but perhaps they do not realize that they have a bigger prisoner in their midst. One that could overpower them all if there was such a jailbreak.
So are
Yeah.
you not like the other Tao? You're referring to them as like a separate entity, like separate from yourself.
I suppose I have drifted away from the politics, drifted away from the ambitions of the other Tao. Yes. You could say I no longer see myself as a Tao, but more of a grain of sand in this greater puzzle. A Tao, the name Tao, it's to, I guess, impose a noble or powerful type of stance, but, well, the things I have seen, the things I've explored, they have only humbled me. Whereas other Tao, they seek to claim, they seek to become stronger, more powerful. I guess they don't realize just how small they actually truly are in the greater scheme of things. That actually leads me on to what I was asking you to translate.
Right, yeah, I got distracted. Sorry, I got very excited.
He begins like hovering up to one of these shelves, and as he hovers, the shelf actually lowers down, and he begins pulling off one of these shelves, and as he pulls it out, you see there are several scrolls, but more so in this shelf there seems to be large stone tablets. And as he pulls one off, he sort of blows the dust away. And
I just hand Taklo like a single gold coin.
okay, did you have a bet?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like, I bet it's all stone tablets anyway. I'm just like, hand
Yeah.
you a gold coin, there you go.
Yeah, that's true. There are some scrolls, but it seems that indeed they prefer using stone as parchment. Only makes sense in the earth plane. So as he pulls off this large stone tablet, you see on it there does seem to be runes, or at least they appear to be runes, but you can tell they're primordial. This is Terran in text. There's a lot, and you can see that several bits have broken from this tablet, like the lower half, and it does have lots of the pieces, and it's almost like he's tried to piece it together himself in the way that it's positioned, and he kind of lowers down the shelf. He lowers it onto the platform you're on, and he says, "There are over 100,000 Dao in the sevenfold maze. None of them have, or at least from what I've searched, none of them have been able to decipher rhyme nor reason from this tablet. It wasn't made by one of us. This is Terran. This is our language, and yet someone else other than the Dao wrote it."
I mean, I'm happy to take a look.
Yes, certainly. And kind of hands it off to you. So the speech is going to very you can roll first of all, just roll an investigation check.
Is it going to work today? Let's find out. Investigation.
Yeah.
It doesn't want to roll it.
Okay. I'll roll it for you.
I really need to get this sorted.
I
I'll
thought
try
your
and get it sorted
investigation was
before
higher
the
than
next session.
It almost seems like when I try to access Cam Sheet, because I can see everything on Cam Sheet, but I can't roll anything. So I'm wondering if it's like maybe the permissions have changed or something, so they can see it, but they can't roll from it. But I'm not sure.
I'll check. No, Steph is definitely the owner of Eirina.
Well,
Okay.
Andy's sheet doesn't work either. I think it's literally just my computer playing up.
Yeah, I think it's something to do with the browser.
I was just
Probably.
thinking that I was able to roll.
Or the cache or something.
It's
Okay,
fine. I'll get it
regardless.
sorted before next week.
So, as you're reading this, it seems to be referencing the cosmology of the Earth elemental plane itself, and the adjacent planes, and the sort of creation story of the Earth elemental plane itself. You're not really sure why this is so special or anything, because as you're reading through it, it's pretty legible. You're not having trouble reading the first half at the very least. It's talking about the quasi-elemental planes that overlap it. The Earth elemental plane itself is part of this great wheel cosmology model, where everything's sort of interconnected and adjacent towards next to each other.
Kind of like what Karius and Kesh'an have been talking about.
Yeah. So what was I going to say? Oh, that's right. Yeah. Apparently, some sections of this plane were created by gods, and it's actually referencing even the sevenfold maze, talking about how one section of it was entirely created by gods in exchange for vast riches and such. But as you're reading down to the bottom of, well, at least the non-broken pieces, it does seem like an interesting read for one who would be interested in like the creation story of it, but you're not sure why he's so stuck on this one piece, what it means or anything. Because from what you can read just from the first few paragraphs, it's legible and it makes sense.
Okay. The pieces that are kind of like broken,
Mm-hmm.
are they attached or
No,
Like,
they're
they-
separate. They're on this large shelf that he's lowered down to the ground, so he hasn't like glued them or like gaffer taped them back together. No, they're separate, but they're sort of arranged in a way that they could fit together.
Okay. What I would like to do is I'm gonna look at Shike for a minute and just say, like, if you've got other things you need to do, I'm quite happy to carry on working, and if I figure out anything, I will call you or send for someone to come and call you, because this could take me a little while.
Well, of course, yes. Yes, I will let you have your space.
Thank
If
you.
you need anything, as I've said, ask one of my assistants. They will call for me. Okay.
Sure.
And all right, he begins to hover down on and lowers the pillar, kind of almost leaving you stranded up here. But there's loads of these little stepping stones that you can get from the balcony
That's fine.
to the other shelves.
First thing I'm going to do is get out my notebook, and I'm going to make myself a copy of whatever is here.
Yeah.
Like in the handwriting, because as a scribe I can mimic the handwriting.
Okay.
And I'm just going to make myself a copy as it is currently. I'm then going to go and search the library for a book on, like, different... basically geology, like different types of rock, and I want to figure out what rock this tablet is made of.
Okay, that's good. That's a good point, actually. Because the rock itself, it looks like a kind of a sandstone on the exterior, but there's an interior to the rock that you're noticing now as you're looking at the pieces. You find a book on geology and different types of rocks, no problem. But and sandstone is definitely one of the more common materials used for scribing, as it's easy to carve into and you can write quite easily on it. It's not the most solid or durable, so oftentimes they do have problems with preserving things, but it's still more durable than paper, that's for sure. So you got to imagine this is very, very old. However, the interior of the rock seems to be more kind of a glassy substance. It's almost as if the sandstone was coating something else.
That was my theory. This is why I asked Shiki to leave. I'm going to sit and stare at it for a while until it starts to go see-through on top, and I want to see what's under the top layer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
Because then hopefully I can see how they piece together, because I'll be able to see more of the interior dents and divots.
Okay, yes. The top layer of sandstone does begin to, well, in your vision, disintegrate away, revealing this much more glassy, crystalline surface. And now that you've got a kind of clear look at it, you can perhaps reference it in the book of different types of rocks. So give me an investigation check as you begin to try and decipher what kind of crystal this is.
You give me an investigation check, I can't do it.
Oh, okay.
And Taklo will try his best to assist by looking at the book and going, maybe it's this.
I'm gonna say because he can't see the crystal, I'm not gonna allow him advantage on this. That's true. Okay. There does seem to be substances which are like
I
glass,
thought my
obviously.
investigation was higher than that. Is it
So
not?
did I. I could have sworn you had proficiency, right?
Yeah.
So why is
is
it
it
only?
unchecked?
I don't know. Someone may have unchecked it. 1, 2, 3.
That might have happened
Well,
while I was trying to get it to actually roll.
You're definitely
Sure,
proficient,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I'm a librarian.
And you know what's gone? You're not proficient in intimidation, are you?
Yes, I am.
Oh, you are. Okay. All right.
Of course she is.
Hang on.
I don't know. What do you get? Hold on.
I'm sure.
What do you have
Because I
from your
get
back?
because I took Prodigy and I get expertise in something. One proficient skill gains expertise, and I'm sure that was investigation.
Yeah, and you're also half proficient in perception. You didn't take a feat, did you? I think you've been clicking around on your sheet too much. You're half proficient in perception as well. How would you be half proficient? You know what I mean?
No, I know what you mean.
I don't know how you'd get that.
I want to say that there was some sort of reward that gave a boost to perception or something, but it might have been a temporary thing at some point.
Potentially.
And maybe just hasn't been ticked off, but...
My proficiency has always been terrible, so I don't think that's right.
You know, it might be Arcana that you're thinking of instead of investigation.
Because...
It's fine. Either way, we'll just carry on, and I'll look at it later.
All right. So either way, you're not really identifying it. There definitely is obvious. Oh, you think to yourself, if this was heated up, certainly the sandstone would turn to glass. And as you're looking back, it doesn't seem to be like a gemstone or anything like that. It does look glassy. In fact, as you're looking at it, at the back of your head, you recognize it to something else, but you don't see it in the book as a type of rock. And then you also think to yourself, what if it was heated up? It would turn to glass on the outside first as the heat hits it. And unless, of course, it was microwaved, but I don't know how much you know about microwaving things in a fantasy environment. So I'm guessing that sort of just, you're a little bit stumped as to how glass got in the inside, unless, again, something was put around it. Anyway, you can't really identify exactly what the glassy thing is. However, you do certainly see, as your vision kind of penetrates further through the sandstone, there does seem to be indeed some sort of carving on the glass itself as well. And at first, you don't recognize it as any discernible language whatsoever.
Okay.
Thankfully for you, your eyes begin to translate things in a weird mystical way. You start to feel
AKA Candlewick does it.
Exactly, i.e. Candlewick the shadow sort of starts to creep into the tablet itself. The shadows forming into the letters and the runes. And yeah, the language itself kind of looks very it's kind of angular, and there's lots of points, almost like triangular points, everywhere every time you kind of read a passage. In fact, even the language doesn't go in a straight line. It almost kind of reads in diagonals, which is very bizarre. And as Candlewick's trying to translate it, you see the shadows sort of move in diagonal, triangular patterns over the text. And okay, and I'd like you to just give me. Oh, you can't give me. You can't give me anything. I was going to say an Arcana check for this one. I'll roll it for you though. Okay, you're. Go ahead and roll a natural 20 for me. Interesting. Okay. This isn't talking about the creation story anymore. Not necessarily about the Earth Elemental plane at the very least. Seems to be talking about something more precious, and it seems to be sort of from a autobiographical sense. Someone is talking about it from like a first-hand experience, and it's from their point of view. and they say that what is it? They've never seen a treasure more spectacular. They've never seen a sight more wondrous in all their time. And they've seen crystals, they've seen gemstones abundant. But this changed my life. This was something that transformed everything. It was a reward. It was the end of a chapter, or perhaps a story. Almost like a hero's reward. I felt like it was in my grasp, but yet I had yet earned it. I could see my reward, but it was not mine to take yet. But just the very sight of it, it inspired me. It charged me full of life and energy again. Like my crystalline body has never felt before. And at that line, you're realizing what this sort of, with that Arcana check, you're realizing what this kind of creature could be, mentioning a crystalline body. This could be a first-hand account from a Chrismal, which is, you've seen one or two every now and again. They are mysterious denizens of the elemental plane. Some of them seem to be enslaved by the Tao, but they seem to be having a position higher than just regular humanoids. And it's when it clicks as well. You've seen a gravestone that was sort of made of a similar glassy substance, like a crystal. This almost seems to be more pure, though. Like, it seems like it's got less impurities than the gravestone you saw. But it seems like this is definitely a first-hand account from a Chrismal. But how old this is, you're not entirely sure. But he seems to be going on about this magnificent treasure that they've discovered.
Is there any mention at all of a location or coordinates or?
Yes. So that's when you start to get down to the lower half, you realize the pieces are broken, and that's when you realize you're going to have to sort of work to actually put them together again. These seem to be stuck inside as well, so it's harder to sort of navigate. But you can begin to try and fit them together if you want. Maybe they're in the correct
where
order.
I pull out like my tinker's tools, so I've got like a pair of like gloves for like handling delicate materials.
Yeah.
Like some tweezers and, you know, all those sort of things you find in like sort of a curator's selection.
Okay.
And obviously using my eye, like my ghostly gaze, I'm checking like all the little minor details in each of the pieces to try and make sure that I'm fitting them together correctly.
Gotcha. Okay.
And because I've never quite understood how blind sight works, apart from that, I'm guessing some form of echolocation or something like that. I'm hoping Taklo can somehow use that and his keen senses to help in some way.
He's almost waiting for the click where it fits together, and he's like, "Yeah, that's the one."
Possibly. I mean, he also does have an advantage on any basically perception-based checks. He's just like, I'm really good with my eyes, my nose, and my ears.
Okay. Well, they can definitely help arrange via the, like you said, the actual shape of the pieces themselves, and figuring out a puzzle. But as for like the actual text, whether it lines up or not, only Eirina can sort of see that in this moment. So I'll allow advantage, and you want to use more of a delicate approach. I'm going to allow this to be more of you have proficiency wise. Tinker's tools. That's the one. Tinker's tools. Okay, so.
What I mean, I get out my gloves, my tweezers, and all that jazz.
There they are. Okay, did you want to add your intelligence to this or your dex? I mean, they're both the same, really.
Okay.
We'll say dex with advantage, and 19. Yeah, it seems like Tackler really is helping. He's able to move the tinier pieces with his smaller claws, and also as he echolocates, he can hear the sort of shape and even maybe the consistency of the rock and how they kind of fit together. It's a very delicate process, and this does take probably the better half of the day, during which at some point you will see that you hear footsteps coming up from behind you, and you're not sure how that's possible because you're on a floating platform. But then you look around, you realize there is a monk walking on the wall, and he's having to angle this platter in such a way that it doesn't fall off. And as he's kind of walking up the side of the wall, he walks up onto the ceiling, and then slow falls down onto you. There's this small like dust cloud that like blows out and then lands next to you, and says, "Compliments from Shakif. He has said that you might be getting hungry, and he offers you a plate of selections of food. There's meats, there's nuts. It seems to be like non-perishables, basically. Like looks like jerky almost, salted jerky.
I can live on that. That's fine.
Yeah. And there is also a small cup as well of some sort of drink.
Yep. Tackler's just going to call out, have you always been able to walk on walls, or is that something you learnt through this whole monk stuff?
It is not something we have learnt ourselves, but it is something we have learned to adapt to. It is this realm.
That makes sense. Thank you. Sorry.
How did you manage that?
It is this gravity. It is everywhere. It pulls in all directions. You just need to open your mind to those directions, and then you will find a path.
Shift your mental perspective of gravity.
Mental, yes, but it is always there. You just need to see it. You just need to feel it. You are being pulled every which way, even as you sit here right now. But I'm guessing your mind is used to straight down.
I'm more of an academic. I'm not really a spiritual type. I know someone who is, so useful skills.
And I fly, so I don't tend to worry about gravity too much.
He smiles and politely bows, says, if you need anything else, please let us know.
Thank you.
Do you have any glue?
I'm sure that it can be arranged, not on hand, but...
I think resin might be a better idea for this situation.
Resin, then? Something sticky.
Yes, I shall go and acquire something from the kitchens. And he disappears. And a few moments later comes back with some sort of like plaster paste. And he says, we use this to sort of fill in cracks everywhere, but it might be useful, yeah. It's not particularly strong. It takes a long time to harden.
I'm gonna take it from him and sort of set it down, and then I'm gonna pull out what remains of the ground up mirror shards that we got from the Temple of Sun and Moon when we broke that mirror.
Oops.
And I'm gonna mix that in, and basically trying to almost have it so that when we fill the cracks, because it's glass, and the tablet underneath is glass, it kind of helps it bond a bit better.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Because I can kind of ever so gently try to heat it to dry it a little bit faster, but I don't want to damage the glass.
Okay. So the actual paste itself, it is quite sticky, but it doesn't seem to be adhering fast. So if you wanted to like rearrange the pieces at last second, you can do, and it doesn't harden just straight away. So that's quite useful. And he also gives you like a little paintbrush to be able to like actually lather up the edges. Okay. So as you're filling this piece, the larger pieces in are the sort of the actual crack, and then the smaller pieces are all scattered in between. Give me a wait. You've already rolled 19. Yeah, so 19. You do a pretty damn good job of this, especially when given you start to piece them together with the paste. It makes more sense now. The text sort of lines up, and again, there's a diagonal type of pattern to this, and you sort of have to almost tilt your head in some directions as you're reading it. But now the pieces are sort of put back together in such a way, you start to realize there's more to the story, and what you realize as well as you're reading down is you was actually reading the ending. This tablet, you could say it's upside down, but you could also equally just say that you were reading it from the wrong passage, from the wrong like angle. So it's a mind-boggling text to even begin to decipher. But
if you've ever seen the book House of Leaves, it's search it. It's really interestingly formatted, and so many people give up like halfway through because it's really difficult to read.
Yeah, it's
oh god, yeah, it's diagonal text on the page.
There's spiral passages. There's bits where you have to go from one part of the book to a previous part of the book, and
almost reminds me of Kesh'an scrolls in a way. Like
it's apparently a very, very good book, but it's just so difficult to read.
Yeah, I can see that just by looking at it. Wow.
So that's how I'm imagining it.
Some of them actually create a shape as well. That's impressive.
Thinking about it, actually, I'll just text. As perhaps Eirina realized this, so it's kind of like what that guy said with gravity. Sometimes you just have to put your mind in a different way to work it out.
I have a feeling, and I'm literally just making sure there's no one around. And I'm literally going to explain to Tacklo my theory. My theory is kind of like, judging from the description of this guy being like crystalline, and the fact that, you know, this hero's reward, this gift, and the whole shifting perspective on like reading the passage. What if this guy and this thing is what Kesh'an is looking for? It's like the Diamond Soul.
See, out of character, I was thinking something similar, but let's just see it. Tacklo strokes his chin with his tail and goes, maybe. And it's almost like the rock on the outside is the body and the gem in the inside is the Diamond Soul.
He says, like, I can't have this yet, and the soul is one thing, right? So maybe someone else already has it. And obviously we know that Ladorvu came and discovered it too, which means it was already here. And if this tablet is as old as it appears to be, then it was definitely here before Ladorvu.
Yeah, like, and well, like when Kesh'an took the water, he took like the last bit, but maybe that will refill over time, so maybe it wasn't ready yet, or maybe because someone else had it, it wasn't ready yet. Or maybe they weren't quite ready yet to take it.
I'm gonna really, really quickly I'm gonna make 2 copies of basically what the tablet says. And 1 copy I'm going to sort of roll up. I kind of want to give it to Tacklo, but Tacklo's got no pockets.
No.
I'm going to make a pocket for Tacklo really, really quickly, using some scraps that I've got left over from when I tore up my robes.
Okay.
And I'm going to almost make him like an Egbert style sling. And then I'm
now
going to put that.
messenger dragon.
You are a messenger dragon.
Adorable.
Unfortunately, I don't remember the way out of here. So just hold on to that, okay?
Right. Yep, I will
Keep it safe. And if you poof out, does it go with him, or would it go with him? Because it's part of him, technically, if he's wearing it.
I'll say, for the sake of brevity, yeah, sure.
I'll
Sweet.
keep it secret.
Okay, so if he poofs out and then poofs back to Karius, he should still have it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. But he can't
Sweet.
come back to you, though, unfortunately.
No, that's fine, though, but all I want to do is get the message across to Kesh'an.
Yep.
Okay.
Right. I will... So you want me to try to fly back?
Well, no, because you won't be able to find your way. Because they won't open the doors for you either.
That's true.
So we just have to wait until Karius maybe summons you back.
I might be too far away for him to do that. I'm not sure.
Can he not just dismiss you? Is that not a thing?
I think he can, but I'm pretty sure they have to be within a certain range to be dismissed, I want to say.
Yeah,
Okay,
100
well,
feet. I think.
We'll all be at the performances
Yes.
together tomorrow anyway. So just fly off when you can to deliver it.
Yes.
Okay.
And if I
But
see
keep it secret, keep it safe.
if I see a window of opportunity, I will take it.
Yes.
Especially if it's a literal
And then
window.
I will go back to finishing off what I was doing.
Okay, so
And
yeah.
I will just spend the rest of the day doing that.
So you realize, what you're reading is less of the beginning and more like maybe towards the end. And you got two parts. You can read from what more like toward the before that or after that. What do you want to read first?
I want to read the part that I've just pieced together because this would
Okay,
be my first time
before
reading that.
All right. So before that, he or it rather, you're not sure, describes scuttling their way through a beautiful horror, a deadly, perilous garden of stunningly beautiful crystals, but all of them devoid of life. They once held life, but now they are part of this place. That's what you read the passage just prior to this. That's what they had to make their way
That make it
through.
sound like that these crystals previously held something that has left, or that something in here has withered away.
Transformed. That's
Like
a
a
word you read
chrysalis.
as well. That's something you read. Not necessarily. That it does feel like it, or rather, it feels like a reversal of a chrysalis. In fact, yeah, probably says that something like a reverse chrysalis.
Something maybe shedding its outer layers.
It says that these stunningly beautiful crystals once held life, but now they are devoid of it. A reverse chrysalis transformed into a beautiful stillness.
Reverse chrysalis. So skeletal remains, essentially. That
Potentially. That's how it's being described from this person's account anyway. And they say that they passed through this kind of winding garden. They call it a garden. You can tell it's more like a metaphor because these sculptures are like arranged in such a way that it's like going through a gallery of these sculptures all transformed into crystal. You see the word intersection as well. That's another word you see. And this because it's like in pieces, right? You're getting most of the translation, but you're getting like a sentence here, and then maybe a word, and then a sentence. And this part says, yeah, the intersection, and it's another kind of missing piece. But then kind of going backwards from there, you read that this place is like a mirror, and yet everything inside the reflection dazzles 10 times brighter than anything that shines in the plane of Earth.
Okay.
And again, another bit of broken text, but that's what you're getting from the prior sentences. The sentences that were after this mention of treasure, you can start to read as well, because it goes diagonally down and then back on itself. You realize that this passage is supposed to be after he finds the treasure, or it finds the treasure. And it says that it was just there, waiting. I didn't feel as though it was deserved, and yet treasures can be stolen. And there's another bit of broken piece. And after another kind of crumbled section, you start to see it says, its presence is ever shifting in my grasp. I'm not sure if it is I that I'm changing, or if it is the treasure, but there is definitely an ever changing, ever faceted element as I hold it. And another bit of broken pieces. After that, though, it says, as I left that place, it seemed as though everything around was slowly sinking into a stillness, as if I had taken the change with me. Everything became one thing, not shifting, but still. It was as though I had taken away its life as well. Nonetheless, there's this torn kind of mentality to them. It's almost as if their personality is changing halfway through as well, and you can start to see some passages seem to be now angry at themselves, like, I don't deserve this. This is not mine. This treasure should not be anyone's. There is no one worthy of this. And another passage later says, perhaps it can be traded then. If I cannot hold it, perhaps it is meant to be forever passed on from one person to the next. A change of hands for an ever-changing treasure. And the last piece is very crumbled, and I'm going to ask you one last check to see if you can piece this together. But this is it's obviously talking about giving it to someone or trading it to something. And I'll allow you to roll. I guess this is going to be one more. It's Tinker's Tools, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. We'll do one more Tinker's Tools with intelligence this time round. And you haven't got Tackler with you this time. Okay. An 11. You get a couple of words, but you don't get a sentence. And in this case, you see a collector, and you get something a collector, something a pact, and something intentions, as if like there's a question mark at the end of that, like you're not sure of, they're not sure of intentions of the collector, that is, but nonetheless, those are the kind of like the words you get with that, and the rest sort of ends there, as they've basically summed up the idea of trading this thing away, this treasure, to something or someone, a collector, and then pact, and then intentions. But that's it. I'm afraid in the 11, you don't get the full sentence.
That's quite a lot of information, to be fair. So, and I have masses of theories.
Okay. Yeah, that's everything. You've looked at the whole tablet from top to bottom, all the pieces. If there are more pieces, they're definitely not here. You look around the shelves to see if there's other similar things, but it seems like you set aside one for this.
I just make sure, obviously, when I make the copy for Shakif, I make a copy for Tacklo to go to Kesh'an as well, because my theory is literally that he's talking about the Diamond Soul is the treasure, and the fact that when it was taken, whatever area the fulcrum has literally lost its very life essence by removing it. And obviously it's something that's passed, like obviously Ludorvu found it, and like he left a scroll for someone else to come and find it, which means it's passing from one person to another. And obviously the monk's way of living has to do with intention. So
okay, all right. After a while, do you call back Shakif or Shakef? Sorry, you want to talk to him?
But
or...
I don't know if you want to skip back to the others if they've got anything first.
Yeah.
All
right. Sure.
Take a minute.
Yeah, no problem. Take a little break. Okay, so back to the others. This is the day before the performance, so if there's anything you need to do to prepare or any discussions that you want to have, feel free. Haran the Gracious is around, and although he seems to be going from like his, you can tell he's going down the corridor back and forth, and
You all right there, buddy? Sorry, master.
he's not part. Yeah, you can see that he's holding he's holding like a lockbox as he goes by, and says, "Yes, I'm fine. I'm not pacing. I am simply getting ready, dressing up, getting ready for the performance tomorrow. Wondering what to wear. That is all." And again, he sort of leaves, goes into his own quarters. You can hear the door lock behind you.
Okay. So, here's the thing, Kesh'an. You're gonna look like a dough, and you can't be wearing your displacer cloak.
For the fight?
Yeah, well, for the performance. The performance is gonna have a fight in it, and I'm pretty sure that Dow don't have displacer cloaks.
I thought it was going to be part of the image, like the shimmeringness to represent the speed.
It could.
I mean, it's effectively a free effect.
True. But what happens when you stand still and you're fighting? just randomly
Chris,
shimmer in.
with the Displacer cloak, can I choose when to activate? Because it's an attunement item, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I'm not sure what you'd have to. Should look it up yourself. No.
So, like, is he constantly flickering always while he's wearing it, or is he able to make it work and stop working?
If there's a May effect on it.
When you wear
When
the
you wear the
cloak,
cloak,
it protects
it
an
protects an
illusion.
illusion. Makes you appear as to be standing in a near place to your actual location.
Yeah, so there's always constantly going to be that sort of effect.
Property ceases to function if you take damage. The property is also suppressed while you're incapacitated, restrained, or otherwise unable to move. So I guess it's when you're moving. You have to be moving in order to project that kind of illusion.
But also,
But
you don't.
you can suppress it if you just stand still.
Ah, well, that's fine then. I'm not going to kill him anyway, so.
And if you threw in a sort of dust effect at the same time, don't know if you can, you could almost have that illusionary thing is just like a flicker of like the sand or the dust.
Doshi, is there chalk about?
I believe Kesh'an has his own bag of chalk, does he not?
Yeah, but that's his special, like, fighting chalk. Is there, like, regular chalk?
Yes, I'm sure we can acquire simple substances as chalk, yeah.
So before the performance, we chuck it over him.
Mm-hmm.
We chalk the whole of him up. So when he's moving, he looks like he's dispersing chalk everywhere because he's a Dow.
Do you mean like dust?
Dust. Chalk.
Yes.
Dust. It's
Or Dow do not normally give off a white plume.
what does?
It's more of a sandy plume.
Yeah. Do you think we could get that? Sand him up.
Yes. There is sand everywhere. He just raises the nearby ornament from your side and just reduces it to sand.
Out of character. Do you remember when Kesh'an already had that effect and I dispelled it as Llewellyn? Yeah, that was fun.
What effect?
Well, Kesh'an had that effect on him from when we went into the negative realm and we all had these
Shadow
different.
plane.
Yeah. And he had that dusty effect on him, but Llewellyn dispelled.
Oh, that was Ash. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been great, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, so Displacer Cloak, good, bad, or? I mean, it won't really matter because I'm not going to kill you.
Yeah, I think it will just add to the pizzazz.
All right then.
Okay.
Have you got any ideas you want to add to it, or?
I don't think so.
Oh, all right. Cool. Just
And your costume, is it all prepared? Guessing you're dressing up like a Dallas sort of attire?
yeah.
That one I'm probably going to help because I don't really know what Dal would wear.
Yeah, we got
You've seen them you've seen them, surely, everywhere you've gone in this place.
Then perhaps I need to get tailored.
Didn't we already get that done in advance?
Yeah, the costume designers have been doing it this whole time.
Oh, okay.
He's asking you, like, is it ready? Do you want to try it on?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can really tell me what you wanted it to look like, but as I've mentioned before, Dal usually wear fine silks, embroidered sashes, elaborate jewelry. Yeah, that kind of attire.
Shan't be pimped out.
Yeah,
Sure.
pretty much.
All right.
And we practice the performance, so in times where certain things are done that's moving Earth, Kesh'an will act the part as if he's the one doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Did you want a turban as well?
is that how he will? Yes. I never thought about it, but yes.
What are you going to do with
A little-
Egbert during the performance?
With a feather?
Because obviously,
Hmm. Someone's gonna have to look after Egbert.
Yeah, but it's also a rock, isn't it? It's an egg, but it's also a rock, so it kind of fits.
yeah, that's what I was just checking. Is he going to be part of the performance, or do you want me to keep a hold of him as I'm not involved in the performances?
Well, he's part of the song, so it's got to be part of the performance.
That's fair.
Elias just sort of like turns to one side and thinks, and is like, I can make this work. Sure, yeah.
Right. Maybe we can pretty him up. Maybe, nice polish, make him nice and shiny. So
He
it looks
already
like
is.
a precious jewel.
Never scuffs. Apart from there.
Those cracks.
Should we just polish him up anyway? Give him a bit of a pampering.
Sure,
reckon
yes.
that?
Give him a good mud bath.
Yep.
Alright. But's like, I can do your makeup.
Sure, no. I've got.
Here's my eyeliner. Oh. Anyways.
Andi, would you
Um,
like Butt to do your makeup?
Thank you.
I mean, the best part about Kesh'an is you can just dye his fur to make him look however you want.
very true.
You could try.
See what
Now-
happens. Violence happens.
Now, obviously, we rented Yuckmuck. How is he going to be involved in the performance?
Yeah, what do you want me to do? Is it an acrobatic feat you wish me to perform, or
Is Yuckmuck bald?
yeah? I ain't got a single hair on my body.
So, we won't need one of the Earth servants then, because we can just use Yuckmug. And I grab a wig and just put it on him. You are the you are the damsel that Kesh'an is saving, but then it turns out you don't need saving because you're both badass. He just has
Okay, yeah, sure.
he just has to free you from your shackles, and then you kick ass together.
Nice. They're gonna dress me up like what am I?
A
My-
lady Dow.
Lady Dow it is. Okay. I'm sure I can pull it off.
And the two of you just gotta run through kicking butt and taking names. Through
He's
the
quite
southern-
small. He's quite small, isn't he?
Yeah.
You are
He's a small creature.
you are the daughter of a Dow, and he is coming to save you.
So I'm an Earth Genasi?
Is that what Dow daughters are?
Well, if a Dow has had a daughter, presumably with a human, right?
With another.
Or
Dow.
maybe because of your natural race, maybe you're like what an Earth Genasi would be if it was a goblin and a Dow.
We just make him look like the daughter of a
I'm
Dow.
not really too sure.
Honestly, to be honest, a goblin and a Dow makes more sense in my head than a human and a Dow because you're like more used to being underground and stuff than a human is.
So why can't it just be a Dow and a Dow? But
I mean, it could be.
That's what I'm getting at. That a female Dow and a male Dow love each other very much, and they produce.
I don't know how that works.
Doshi,
I'll be perfectly honest.
can Dow have children together? Is that a thing?
We are elemental beings. We are from the earth. We are born from earth.
So
It is not so much a reproductive process.
okay, then
Reproductive.
how about okay? So you know more about this. So if Yuckmug is going to be like a smaller person for Kesh'an to save as like a damsel somehow related to him, what sort of thing would they be? Because all the Dao we've seen are really like big and imposing and impressive. I've not seen a small Dao.
I am sort of a small Dao, if you care to say it.
He can be like a doshi, like a
A Hetman.
first, yeah, a first
Yeah.
mate.
So
Right.
that's what you're going to be, Yuckmug. You're going to be Kesh'an's or
Favorite.
Daoshan's favorite Hetman.
Yes.
Okay.
And you're gonna,
Yes.
and you've got the skills to fight as well as
Yeah.
Kesh'an.
Maybe
kick
because
together.
you've been secretly observing him in his training and like mimicking his moves because you want to impress him, and now that he's rescued, you've got this opportunity to be like, aha, I'm a badass too.
He could be a patron and Yuckmug the warlock, so to speak.
Yeah, that could work.
Does sound pretty good.
That is how a lot of us Headmen are sort of created in a way. We are sort of portions of the Dao's power manifest into a soul.
And
We are like element and soul combined.
yeah. And so you get kidnapped by an evil lord, and
Mhm.
Kesh'an has a particular set of skills, and he will find them and he will kill them and save you.
Excellent. All right then.
Till you help.
Your performance sounds captivating.
Like-
Yuckmug, yeah, okay, well, I just point me where to put my fists, and I'll do my best.
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes use of Yuckmug.
All right. Well, I'm gonna get a good night's sleep. If you hadn't noticed, I'm still covered in bruises from the fight, so he literally is. He's on
Yeah.
36 HP.
Oh,
I'm gonna retire for an early
Yeah.
night.
Cool.
Yuckmug heads to bed.
I think that's everything. Is everything good on your end, Andy?
I mean, I think we're pretty much sorted.
Yeah, we had the entirety of the whole last session, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
I've
Okay,
been
well then.
thinking about this for weeks. It's fine.
Yeah.
In that case, then we'll come to Eirina. You're just gonna meet up with Shaketh, and he's meditating currently in a small private room. But he's been alerted of your arrival as you're sort of being escorted by one of the other monks here. And as you enter into a room, it's just a simple columned chamber, and he seems to be meditating on the wall itself. And as he looks up from it, he kind of hovers down into your orientation and says, "You have been at this all night. I am impressed by your hard-working ethic."
I
What did you
like
just-
a good mystery. That really, I tend to hyperfixate on something once I'm interested. So
I take it you realized early on that there is some sort of other message.
Yeah.
I located it myself with tremor sense, but the language was undecipherable.
I have a knack for. I can pretty much read every single language. I just cannot speak every single language. It's
Oh.
kind of like Latin, you know, you can read it and write it, but you can't speak it. It's a dead language.
He nods in an understanding matter. What is the meaning of it?
Oh, do you mind if I sit down? It's a lot to go through.
Of course. And he gestures a stone chair raises up, and you find yourself sitting down.
Awesome. Okay, there's a couple of things that, like, obviously I'd just really quickly like to ask before I get into the like nitty-gritty bit. You're quite obviously a monk of sorts. How did that come about?
How did it come about that I have turned to this
Followed the
life?
path of, yeah, like most Dao don't pursue something like this. As far as I've seen, most Dao are very concerned with their slaves and their money and their power, which is why I don't speak around them, because I'm afraid I'm going to say something very ugly and start a fight. I've not spoken in front of any of them, bar yourself.
That is a wise decision. Thou are easy to be offended, and they like their slaves obedient, quiet.
Yes, noted.
Hence why I sort of took up the title of quiet myself. Not that I wished to be obedient, but because I realized that perhaps I am a servant to something greater.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
That noise. Yes.
As one
you
of
can
the
hear-
servants in the background go, "Oh my god!"
That was weird. There's a.
Sorry.
It's alright. It says,
Call me so off guard.
I'm a humble student. I'm still learning many things. But there is the scholarly angle which I pursued for a long time. I tried to learn about the world, explore every inch, every angle of this place, but it has been an impossible task. I then began to realize that I would never be content with discovering everything. It was impossible. A task no one can ever fully complete. They say that all kings will fall, all kingdoms will crumble. Nothing is forever. The same goes for material wealth, power. It all eventually changes hands. But I found there is peace. And he places his hand on his chest. You just have to search inwards. I discovered more about the world by discovering who I was myself. I let go of material belongings. I let go of lofty ambitions and instead focused on just owning my mind and in turn owning my body. They are one and the same. Yakmag has also taught me much. He may appear as though he is a student of mine, but that could not be further from the truth. The master became a student, so to speak. Yakmag has told me that his tribe was influenced by a martial artist by the name of Lodovu a long time ago. That influence has definitely shone a light on my own life. But it is hard to convince other Dao. It is not something that can be evangelized. it is something that others have to find themselves. Those who have come to my dojo have come willingly, like yourself.
Can I ask, like, you've said something that has caught my attention. You say that Yakmuk and his tribe followed the path of Ladorvu.
Yeah.
And I'm sensing that because you say you became the student, that you yourself would be interested in maybe learning more about the path that.
Indeed. I heard of his pilgrimage, and it is a similar journey to my own. It is said that Ladorvu said he would return back to his home to meditate on all that he had learned, all that he had discovered about the world. And I intended to sort of, in my own way. Hence why I gave up a life of exploring and began to meditate on my discoveries, what I had found.
I see. If that
I
is
can't
the
say
case,
I've... Oh, yes.
I would suggest. It is not my place to give you information that does not belong to me, but I would suggest you perhaps sit down with my friend Kesh'an, and if he feels so inclined, he may tell you his story. It may interest you, and yeah, as I said, it's not my information to give. It's his if he deems it pertinent. But the reason we are here is that we are trying to help Kesh'an follow his path, and it's led us here.
His path? Ladorvu's path?
No, Kesh'an's path. He is, as I said, he will share the information if he thinks it's something he wishes to do. It's not my information to give.
And you came here because we're following footsteps. It makes sense now. You are clearly powerful adventurers. And if you did not...
Powerful and stupid.
I would say...
What's the word? Impulsive. That's the word.
And humble too, it would seem. That is good.
Absolutely not. That is not the case. At all.
Well, in any case...
We've all bragged at least once on our adventures. We're not humble.
Where is it you're trying to reach? If it is not... It is not the... Sorry, I'll scratch that. He says, you're not here for the talent show then? Where is it you're truly trying to reach?
We're not quite sure yet, which is why I think you need to speak with Kesh'an, because you may be able to help him, and he may be able to help you. Yakmug is a common link, and the name Ladorvu. That is all the information I will give you. Again, as I said, it's his information, not mine. It's not my path, it's his. That's why we're here. My path is entirely elsewhere.
Very well.
Which is something I would like to discuss later on with you, but it's not really urgent. It's just a sort of segue.
Please, no, mention it.
You mentioned that you'd been to the material quite some time ago, and you've got patrons, and you do maps, and my mother was a map maker, and it's a long story, but I wasn't born up in the mainland. I was born elsewhere. And over time, this place has become forgotten, and a lot of people don't remember that it exists, and I'm starting to doubt that it's real. I'm trying to find a map that shows this place was there once. My memories of it are fading. I left when I was very small, and I don't remember much. But part of me knows that it was real, but part of me is starting to wonder if I made the whole thing up.
He pauses for a moment, and I'm just going to roll to see just how much. Okay. Seems to think for a moment and says, "It has been some time since I've been to the elemental plane of, well, material plane. I can only tell you that my own observations of that plane are that it too seems to be one of shifting patterns. And as he does mention that, you see a bunch of tiles suddenly emerge from what was very plain and sort of a dusty floor. It's almost as if the dust is pushed up against the walls into mounds of sand, and he reveals one single tile that suddenly unfolds into 4 more tiles. Those 4 tiles then unfold and unfold until the entire plane that you're on is just a pattern of squares. And he says, there is a definite pattern to the material plane that is unlike others I have seen. Other material plane, that is.
There's other material planes.
He nods.
Do you know how
Yours
many?
is but one reflection.
Oh, okay. I'm familiar with that concept. I thought you meant like, yeah, no, I'm familiar with the concept of the like other mirror reflections.
However, it is almost as if your material plane and the world you're speaking of, they are adjacent, yes?
This is the thing. I don't know.
And yet they cannot be crossed. Almost as if there is a mirror in between.
There was. I've been told that the possibility of me or getting is a result of not being where I'm supposed to be. If the place I'm looking for is a reflection, I'm not supposed to be in this one. And that
Reminds
may be
me
why
of,
I'm forgetting it.
perhaps, yes. It reminds me of the 4th region of the Sevenfold Maze. There is. Oh wait, sorry, the 3rd region. My mistake. The 3rd region. It is a region of identical halls, mirrors polished to a point where you cannot define what is real and what is not. And in that plane, there are sometimes mirrors that face each other, and in those reflections, they create infinite reflections. And he gestures again to the tiles on the floor, and he says, if there is 2 mirror worlds adjacent to one another, it is possible that it creates infinite branches, infinite realms within realms. I have not seen much into it myself,
I'm
but
gonna
I can only tell you.
pull out my journal and I'm gonna flip to like a map of Midra that I've got. And when someone mentioned to me that there's like a hedge separating them, I'm literally just going to show Shakif this image. Somebody mentioned that once there was like trade between these two places. And now there's almost like a hedge. I don't know if you've ever heard of like the Feywild, but there is a hedge there. It's almost like once upon a time they were part of the same mirror, but they've almost like snapping the mirror in half, and now they're kind of like they've become reflections of each other rather than one entity.
It is said that the Feywild is also a reflection itself of a world. It's almost as if perhaps they share the same Feywild, and you crossed over one way and came out the other side in the other. You didn't go back, you just simply passed through. One last thing I will say is a similar phenomenon is also known in the deserts of your material world. It is where one of my patrons has gone, in fact. I have not heard from this servant in a long time. Almost as if they too have forgotten. But they wandered into what they described as a mirage.
I've heard of mirages.
It could be a similar...
When was the last time you heard from this person?
At least a decade ago.
Okay.
But-
well, that's how we came here. We were in that desert. What did did this person have a name? What did they look like? Distinguishing marks? What they were looking for? Or...
That is also part of the tragic instance of this. Their name is also beginning to escape me. Almost like I am experiencing the same as you are. Memories are being warped as if they're getting further away. I know I have a servant out there. I know their name is carved somewhere in this temple, in this dojo. But
he wasn't a dwarf, was he?
he thinks for a moment, but then shakes his head. No.
Okay, it's not the guy we met who was here and then escaped. He was turned to stone for a very long time.
No, he headed west. And he said that he encountered a mirage. I implored him to discover its origin, and they never returned. Almost a similar description to your hedge, but on the western side.
Okay.
And he kind of gestures towards the square tile in the middle, and he's kind of pointing towards one side that's like your hedge, and then the other wall as if it's the mirage. And it also, because you would have read it by now, at the very least, it also seems to be coinciding with what that text, the draconic text you've been reading, it seems to just describe a very similar thing, and how these dragons migrated across and ended up in another desert, one full of space that they could begin to inhabit, which wasn't there before, it feels like. Almost as if it was a giant desert, these dragons would have found it by now, but they were looking for a place to migrate to, and they found it. Massive empty expanse.
I'm gonna make a mark on my map of the Claude Coast of where he's kind of indicated, sort of like to the west, just as a reminder to myself.
That's sorry, yeah, it's what Uriun described. Uriun said he was trying to get away from a previous clutch of dragons. He said that he'd kind of been exiled. It's assumed he was basically exiled, but kind of left of his own accord as well. And yeah, he said he's never been back since. He said he couldn't go back. And at the time, you thought maybe
mention the name Uriun to this guy. Like, does that sound familiar? Or and then sort of brief description.
He says Yurayun? No, I've never heard of someone like that. But
Dabnir. He's planar traveler. But I don't think he said he'd ever been here.
I'm not too certain of these names. But it is likely my servant has.
Well, when you do remember it, or if you do remember it, let me know.
Okay.
Keep my eyes and ears open when I return to the surface. But back to my point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't suppose you have any map that have that are old of Midra and perhaps the expanded version, the DLC edition in your
The
archive.
Elfie edition? What do you mean, Elfie edition?
I said the DLC edition.
Oh, DLC. The
expansion pack.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, he's got something of similar. Yeah, he's got an older version, but on this, it's a perfectly square stone tablet, and normally you'd see like if it was a globe, it'd be very much like you would see like a wrapped kind of globe type shape, but this map is perfectly square. And he hands it to you and says, "These are the deserts of Gaidia on one very far side," and he points to the other. And he gestures towards this ancient forest. He says, "This is the hedge you mentioned," and he shows you again.
Past the hedge, or not?
It doesn't. No. It does not map this world you speak of. If there is a map of it,
how old is this map?
It's likely someone believes it to be fiction.
How old is this?
This one is not terribly old. Probably about 100 years old, maybe. Not terribly old.
100? Okay. Ooh.
But yeah, it kind of hands you off a map, nonetheless.
That doesn't help my brain. Oh.
The deserts and the forest have definitely been there for over 100 years, though. You can confirm that.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. But like, obviously, if Evermore's not on this map,
no,
and I'm in my near 30s, it correlates that again. It's in my head. It's not real. It was never there.
Or you've not just crossed from place to place. You've crossed through time by over 100 years.
Time is also a possibility.
Yeah, remember, planar travel can do all sorts of timey-wimey shenanigans.
Yeah, the Feywild, our group was in for one night, and that correlated to 10 years.
And as Tarek has mentioned again and again, time and space are but two of a three-coordinate thing. In other words, he references time and space as like two halves.
Okay. Okay, so it's a potential that I'm not crazy. But we'll put a pin in that for now.
Yeah.
Thank you for your help. That's
the best person to ask would be, in your head, you know, is Tarek.
Yeah, I know, but finding him's the tricky part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So he again thanks you for helping him translate the tablet.
Yeah,
and
sort of explain to him what I figured out. I'm not going to tell him about my theories of like the Diamond Soul and anything that pertains to Kesh'an, because that's for him first.
Sure. He does
and then
ask.
If Kesh'an decides he wants to share it, then fine. But I will.
I
won't lie to him.
He does ask you what that, because he has his own theories as well. And he said he does want to ask you. So what is it? What is this treasure they mentioned? Is it something that you can hold? Is it something that they can?
I don't think it is. I think it's. He says the moment it's kind of like his, he can't keep it. I don't think it's a physical, or once it's obtained, it's not physical.
So it's something fleeting, perhaps, or is it something?
I think. How do I put this in that?
not solid.
I don't think it's solid in physicality.
No.
I think it's, from my perspective, it's something within this plane that's alive. It's an entity in my brain.
Can you explain? Do you mention the intersection, that part?
Like, I give him a copy of everything.
Yeah. Okay.
I
He
don't
does
hide
say
any
then.
of that from him. I just
Okay.
don't tell him my Ladorvu
Alright.
link theory.
So he says within this plane, but he mentions an intersection. That could be something. That means like a crossover. That means that's.
It could be there's a final hurdle to getting to this treasure. It could be a clue as to like a distinct intersection. Almost. Some of these things correlate to things that you've mentioned about like the mirrors in the third area. That's
true.
mentioned. So it makes sense that the intersection is again one of the final hurdles. Maybe there's an identifiable marker.
I believe there is. Whatever this garden of crystal statues he mentions is.
So you've not seen that part.
I have not. Sounds like they went past the intersection. And that is what they discovered. Nonetheless, strange mystery.
I honestly think that you and Kesh'an should speak. He would maybe be able to give you a better angle.
If he is speaking to Yakmog at any point, then I'm sure the information will eventually reach my ears. But, yes. If given the chance after the performance, then I will attempt to seek an audience with this Kesh'an.
Would you let me send a copy of this paperwork to him? It just means that after the performance, he would be able to understand the discussion fully. As I said, the information that I won't tell you is because it pertains to him, and I'm sure that he would keep any information to himself.
There is one worry I have if this is ever copied. And that is that the greedy Dal will likely want to find such a treasure and claim it for their own. If anyone else discovers of this, then it will spur a arms race. There will be also counterfeits. There will be cons. Likely people claiming they have such a treasure. It's dangerous to give people a lofty ambition, especially one based on myth and crumbling epitaphs.
Okay.
If you do make a copy, I suggest that you destroy it after the information is known.
Well, this is what I mean. Like, I don't want to be holding a copy if I made one. I would like to keep it safe. If this is what I think, then the information is very, very important to Kesh'an's path.
I see. You may share this information with Kesh'an, but should you ever lose this copy, it may fall into the wrong hands.
The best way I can think of doing this is, I gestured to Taklo, is that once it is delivered and Kesh'an has read it, Taklo can incinerate it or eat it.
Num num.
You promise this?
We will need to make sure that he is given some sort of escort in case. If someone
Well-
believes that you are sending a secret message, then I don't know what the DAO would be like in terms of wanting to acquire it. If you have a safe
want
way
to,
of getting.
Well, you are to see him tomorrow, are you not? Before the performance?
Yes.
You're part of the performance. Why not tell him then?
Yes. Okay. But you will need to give him time to read through it and think on it before asking for an audience with him. Is that all right?
Of course, yes.
Then we'll do it that way.
Have you already made a copy?
Admittedly, yes. But I have not sent it anywhere.
Yep. And if you did, if you got annoyed at the copy, I would rip it up right now and eat it piece by piece.
This is kind of why I gave it to Taklo, so the temptation to put it in my journal is not there.
He thinks for a moment. There is one way we can do this. Yeah, hold on. I think he's got an idea. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. So he's got an idea. He says, "All right." He concentrates for a moment, and you see the casting of some sort of spell, and before long, you see a elemental creature beginning to rise up out of the stone in this place, and he fashions it in a way that his entire body becomes kind of like this stone tablet itself, just with arms and with legs. And he says, "We can inscribe a copy into this, or inside of this." And he asks for your scroll. May I see the copy?
Taklo pulls it out with his tail.
Yeah, I was going to say it's
Okay.
exactly the same as the copy I've already given him.
All right. So he looks at it for a moment, and he, for the rest of the evening, he begins like copying it onto this stone creature. It's just like this big kind of like wall, and he just kind of with a finger just begins etching and shaping the stone magically to create the copy. And afterwards, he says, "There, we have another copy, and I will destroy this one." And you see just small little shards of stone beginning to tear it into pieces. And he says, "You can burn these remains, Takla."
Taklo does. He just goes.
Okay.
He doesn't have much of a flame, but it's enough to burn paper.
And then after that, he turns to the creature that has this tablet inscribed on his body, and with one swift motion, he brings back his arm and slams it straight into the creature with his palm. The creature shudders for a moment and like locks up, and you see that the stone almost like turns inwards. The writing like, almost flips around, so you see the body is no longer filled with inscriptions. It's just like this blank slate. The inscription is on the inside. Once
It's really cool.
once you've delivered this creature to Kesh'an and he's read it, the creature will be instructed to inform me.
That works.
The creature need not come back to me, but once you are finished reading, let the creature know. This is an earth elemental. He gestures. Sort of.
I'm
of
assuming he can delete it.
Yes.
What sort of earth elemental is it? Because we heard about a couple of kinds, and we've seen the normal ones. We fought some of the normal ones.
This is a one of my own designs that I've just simply come up with. I've shaped it from my will, and I have created a sort of a messenger of sorts.
It's like
But I do not like to summon elementals often. Binding the soul to the earth, it is not their true form. I will release it once you have given this copy to the target. Okay?
I have one last question.
Yes.
You may or may not know the answer to this, but if you had any information, it would be very helpful. The other reason we've come here is that we're looking for a specific type of mineral. They are very rare in they're practically non-existent in the material plane now. And we don't know if there are any down here, but we've heard it's a possibility.
You're looking
diamonds?
for... He nods. Diamonds do indeed exist here.
Oh, good.
Within the hidden fulcrum.
Do you know where exactly we would find them, or what we'd need to do to trade or obtain some?
Unfortunately, the Great Khan controls a monopoly on every single diamond. It is said that he keeps them within a hidden vault, known as the Hidden Fulcrum, within the deepest layers of the Sevenfold Maze.
Is there any way you can think of that he would trade or grant us some?
Dal do not normally give up their wealth so easily.
I understand that, but this is literally a matter of life or death. And it's incredibly important that we save this person.
Okay. It's almost as if he knows the worth or the value of these crystals. He knows that they almost hold a potential life force within them.
And I understand their value, believe me. Terrible things could happen if this person isn't revived.
I'm afraid it is impossible for me to say what the Great Khan would offer. He would definitely make it a pricey transaction, though, especially for a diamond. You would have to bargain with him, find out what he would want.
If we win the performance tomorrow, would he have an audience with the winners?
Yes, it is likely he would. Or he may take you as his own personal slaves. The Great Khan is, as I've said, a very greedy ruler.
That part might not go down so well.
He raises an eyebrow. Well then, I pray that your shenanigans, as you call them, are...
successful.
Yeah.
You and me both. I do not want to resort to any sort of violence if I don't have to. But if someone tries to enslave me for life, I will not be held responsible for my actions. Been there, done that, not happening again.
I will be watching the performance. Should any harm come to you, then I'll do my best to redirect some of that harm.
That would be very appreciated, thank you.
All right.
Is there anything else I can do while I'm here?
He says, "Yes, I need some dusting done."
I can do that. I can do that.
All right, sure. Okay, so that's you guys done. After you spend basically the whole day there, and you even retire to the monk quarters. Very simple. design, but you don't hear any complaints. In the morning,
I
you're
don't complain. It probably reminds me of my room in the library. It's
yeah,
like a
almost.
desk and a bed.
Sure. But in the morning, you're kind of waking up bright and early. The monks have this kind of communal meal together in the hall, and Shakef offers to escort you back to the Haran's estate, if you wish.
Yes, please. I will get lost.
Okay, sure. So yeah, he escorts you all the way back, and yeah, Shakef is entering into
I
the estate.
try to make a mental map in my brain of the route, but I don't imagine that's
Yeah,
very easy.
okay, sure. Roll me an intelligence saving throw. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was waiting to see how long it would
he's
take me
waiting
to
for me to
remember.
figure out. Yeah, okay.
Aklo will also
Okay.
try his best.
Sure, you can go on with Taklo as well. Taklo, small brain, dragon, Bunga
He
Bunga.
tries.
But
He remembers, but perhaps from a bird's eye view, so it doesn't make much
Yeah.
sense to anyone else.
Eirina, surprisingly enough, you are able to map it a little bit. But you notice that this is perhaps only possible because it appears to be the same. This level doesn't seem to be changing much, as according to what you've heard from lower levels, that do shift and do change. This one sort of roughly remains the same. You remember several balconies you have to traverse. One of them you have to walk off the balcony and over and under the balcony. Thankfully, Shikaf kind of offers you just a hovering platform, so you don't have to practice like his monks do. But there's also you lose it a little bit when it comes to the staircases. But you do remember a sequence of doors, and seeing it from this side as well gives you a little bit more clarity in how they open. That gem in the middle of the door seems to have a light, like a beam, like a laser that hits another door further on, and they have to be opened in a certain sequence, and you're seeing that sequence behind the curtain effectively. And yeah, you can sort of begin to memorize, but even though you're memorizing it, you realize there are certain waypoints where you either need incredible strength to push aside the the doors, or you need some sort of gemstone that Shakef offers to these Dao as some sort of tribute or payment, like a tariff almost. But yeah, for the most part, you begin to sort of remember the route back. So anyway, you've come back to the others. For everyone else, if there was anything you want to do in the evening, which I don't think you mentioned, then you would have all had a night's sleep, woken up bright and early. This is the day of the talent show. Doshi gets you all dressed up in your costumes and everything, and
Only
makeup
thing,
done. Yeah.
only thing Karius would have been doing during the evening, which is an essay prep, well, is prep work, is he'd just be reading over the scroll, making sure he understands
Yeah.
it, sort of thing, basically beginning to break it down, so he doesn't have to do it all at the last minute.
Gotcha. Okay, so while you're studying during the night, you're the only one like up, just sort of reading the scroll over. You do hear Haran's door open, and he does make his way out into what looks to be near the courtyard. You can just hear the doors opening and closing, like past you. But they seem to stop some way in the courtyard,
Mhm.
and they must have stopped because you don't hear them go up the stairs or through another door. They're only like a room away from you. You could reckon.
Yeah. Karius is just going to listen as hard as he can. He's not going to try to move or anything, but he's going to listen to see if he hears any words or anything. Maybe like if he's like uttering a prayer, maybe, or
Sure.
something.
Yeah,
like
roll
that.
me a perception check.
I'm so used to my much higher perception on. Yeah.
You hear just silence, which in of itself is a little bit noticeable. It's noticeably silent. That's the weird thing.
Hmm.
No, not a single word or a peep. But after a while, you again hear the door open up, and you definitely hear Ron pass by like this door here on the west side.
Yeah.
So I'm not thinking. And then you hear he goes down the corridor, closes that door behind him, opens up the door to his own personal quarters again, and closes it behind him.
Karius was tempted to investigate, but he sort of thinks to himself, well, as I don't trust the guy, he's been good enough, and if he needs some time alone late at night, considering things that he's been through, then I'm just going to leave him to it. I don't want to intrude on that.
Sure.
Everyone deserves the privacy.
Yeah. All right then. And in the morning, you're all in your little makeup rooms or whatever. You're in your own little stylist's chair, getting your hair done, getting dressed for the performance.
I imagine everyone is walking up to Elias playing the organ.
Sure.
No.
Yeah, why not? The atmosphere is generally one of upbeat and excitement. You can see the other actors either practicing lines or the singing portions. Yeah, seems there's a
I would
hubbub.
like to give Kesh'an a poke when I arrive, when I arrive.
Hello.
I just kind of gesture for him to like come with me out of the room because obviously I'm not speaking
Yeah.
in front of
And
people.
Taklo, who's with you, just puts a towel to his mouth and goes, shh.
Kesh'an follows you out, and before you get a word in, he's just going to say, "What did you do?"
Does Kesh'an have the wrist thingies on?
Yeah, should do.
Yeah.
Everyone's been instructed to have those bands on, including yourself, Eirina.
Yeah, but I didn't put them on.
You've been instructed to.
But
I
Taklo,
don't care if I've been instructed.
Yep. Taklo sort of goes,
I'm on loan.
Actually, there was a point where everyone was on in the kitchen or the feeding hall, and Doshi reminded everyone to put them on, and you made sure everyone did put them on.
Yeah, but I
Doesn't mean we did.
From
You can see if you have or haven't.
From when Taklo heard the recordings of the sound, was it only Elias's side of the conversation that was heard, or was it both sides of the conversation?
It was mostly you mostly heard just Elias's,
Right.
but you would have heard like repeat. Like yeah, it's hard to say. You definitely heard Elias's voice clearer than the others.
Okay,
So
so the
You
others
could make out the conversation as a whole.
So
Okay.
when he was having the conversation with Taklo, and Taklo was like, "Well, what about this?" and
Yeah.
wouldn't have heard Taklo's part, just heard Elias go.
No, they
"Well,
would
we're
have
not
been.
feeling that."
It would have been a conversation in the vicinity of Elias, but Elias's voice is clearer.
Okay, so it's almost like there literally are recording devices, so the mic is like nearer to Elias essentially, so it picks him up clearer than others. Right.
Yeah.
Taklo.
My point is, like, I would have removed them if I went with what's his name because I'm on loan. I'm not.
That's true.
All right.
Because otherwise, there's potential that that entire conversation was recorded, and Eirina wouldn't have spoken if that was the case.
But you put him back on now, right?
Not unless I'm made to.
Yeah.
At which point, yeah, go on.
Yeah, Taklo sort of looks to Eirina and it's like, they only seem to record, and he's saying this telepathically into her head, they only seem to record sound. So if I speak into his head, he might not hear it. He might not be recorded.
I'm sure Taklo can speak telepathically with you. I'm not sure he can speak telepathically with everyone else.
It literally is limited telepathy. The pseudo dragon can magic.
Oh, for the pseudo dragon.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I was thinking of the actual familiar spell.
Yeah, he can.
Wait, can he hear me too, or? Just one way?
No, it's only one way. But he can only communicate like simple ideas, emotions, and images. So it's not quite as straightforward.
I'm gonna grab a bit of paper and a pen, and I'm literally just going to write out. You'll. It kind of sounds like the Charles Dickens. You will be visited by 3 ghosts, but it's you will be visited by an earth elemental, with a message.
Kesh'an just writes a question mark.
It concerns Ladrovu and your challenges.
He writes an even bigger question.
Taklo just sort of telepathically says into your head with simple images, basically. Just trying to think how to phrase this. Right. There'll be it's got information that Eirina found, which we think relates and is really important for you to understand, because if you don't understand it, then a meeting with Shakef won't make as much sense for you. And it's an important meeting that will help you.
Wait, how did you do that through simple images?
And emotions.
Simple image. You
just
to, like,
simple ideas, emotions, and images.
I can just
creates
imagine
this image in your head.
stick figures, one that looks more like have a meeting and there's like, I don't know, the frozen flame or something. That's how I picture it anyway.
Yeah. Picture it how you will, but that's basically what's telepathically put into your head.
The feeling of anticipation.
And when you've read it, you need to tell it you've read it.
Huh?
When you've read the message, you need to instruct it that you've read the message.
I have read the message.
Basically, when the Earth Elemental comes, he's basically explaining. You need to tell once you've read the message the Earth Elemental has, you need to tell the Earth Elemental that you've read the message. No.
I understand the message.
Yes.
Taklo self-destruct.
Even that you understand the message, you need to tell it that you've read the message.
Yeah.
It's alright. I'm sure the thing can talk to Kesh'an, and Kesh'an would understand it anyway.
Oh yeah, of course it will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then whatever I've just written down on paper for Kesh'an, I'm just going to give it to Taklo to incinerate.
Alright. Yeah, okay, so, I mean, it's followed you back anyway, for the most part.
Yeah.
Eirina. And then disappeared into the earth at some point. But yeah, Kesh'an, whenever you seem to find yourself alone, if you're getting ready or preparing, you'll probably hear a rumble soon. But anyway, you can do that now if you want. I mean, it is morning, and you got to go to the toilet at some point. So you head to your cubicle, close the door, and just as you're about to sit down on the john, when you hear like a rumbling sound, and you think at first, "Oh God, the toilet's about to explode," and then you suddenly see in front of the door where the toilet is this large womp-like looking creature. It's just how Tackler described it in your head. It's like a large slate with arms and legs.
Occupied?
And it goes, "Ugh!" And which you understand in Terran, because you can understand the languages. Yeah. The tablet begins to sort of open up itself, like it's got a set of doors on its body, and inside you see this language before you, this copy of some sort of strange written epitaph It is. Hold on. Can you read? You can only understand spoken languages, can't you? So I'm guessing you made the copy in English. So it's
Yeah, I
much
would have
easier for Kesh'an to
translated it.
read.
Otherwise, no one would have been able to read it.
Well,
Thank God.
Karius could
Okay,
have.
it's in common. So yeah, it's in common, and you read it, and it tells you about how a Chrismal discovered some sort of unimaginable, beautiful treasure, but he had to pass through some sort of intersection, an intersection that was filled with stunningly beautiful crystal sculptures. These sculptures were once living, supposedly, and they got transformed. He said it was both horrifying and beautiful at the same time. And then the creature has taken this treasure, it seems, and they have tried to pass it on through maybe trade or pact is a word that's written, and then collector, and then intention is the last word.
And that's it.
It is, that is it, yeah.
Thank you.
Did you you hear the creature's like, ugh!
Oh, I have read and understood the message.
Ugh. It kind of nods, and suddenly you see its eyes roll back into its head. Suddenly you see in its like center of its body, you see this palm shape, and it's just like burning into its body. You see it like pressing further and further. You see cracks, fissure all over the creature, and suddenly the creature lets out one last shudder and then explodes into pieces. Those pieces then explode into dust, and you're just covered in dust.
I finished my poop.
Sure. Yep, plop. I'll tell you what, Kesh'an, you can roll me, oh god. Roll me an intelligence check. Sorry. It's not good, but I know it's not your forte, but hey, it's not bad, yeah. The way that palm suddenly appeared on the creature before it just exploded kind of gives you an idea, and you swear you've heard of some sort of special technique that's like similar to this. Can't put your finger on it, but you're sure there's a technique like that in martial arts. Nonetheless, you dust yourself off, finish your poop, and head back out to the others.
So already you're probably the first one to see. You just see Kesh'an staring off.
It's the fact that Kesh'an went into the bathroom, there was an explosion, he's come out covered in dust, and it's like...
Yeah. And Taklo just projects a tentative thumbs up image into your head, Kesh'an.
I've decided what song I woke everyone up to, and it was me. It was me teaching Butt how to play Heart and Soul.
By Karius.
Where there's like where it's like dun 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 da 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 da, but like I'm teaching him the duet part.
Oh, okay.
So
It still beats bagpipes.
I've done my performance. He can do his to help me.
Mm-hmm. All right. So she
the eye
enters
of the
room.
tiger.
No, well, I hope he doesn't do Eye of the Tiger. That won't fit.
I'll give it a go.
No.
Oh no. He's completely out of rhythm. Like he's getting the notes correct, but he's just like completely out of time.
Dun, dun, boo, 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 boo. Da, 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 boo, 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 boo.
He's got no sense of rhythm.
He's like, you'll get it one time.
Am I actually in the performance?
No, I'm just teaching you this because
Thank goodness.
Because then you can play it in the future to be a good slave.
All right.
I mean, if you have no worth, then they might just toss you to the side.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to give you some worth.
At that point, you suddenly see the wall just open up. Doesn't even bother using the door this time. Around the gracious just enters into the room as the doors just like collapse downwards. And says, my spectacular performers, are you all ready? Today is the day of the performance. You're all getting done up? Is everyone ready?
Yeah.
We can make our way to the
Aye, but
stage
it's
then.
10 o'clock.
I think everyone's ready.
In the morning, yes.
I think everyone is ready for this totally awesome performance. It's going to be
Yeah.
awesome.
Perfect. Alright. Yuck Mug's also woken up. He looks way better. He's doing some stretches. Maybe just doing some light sparring. But yeah, it does look like it's hit 10 o'clock, and that's a good place to end. Definitely doing the performance next week, as we're going to have to start straight on it. But I'm kind of good. I'm kind of glad about that. It gives us
I
a
thought
whole
we were
full
not
session.
playing next week.
Oh,
I won't be here.
And I probably
Oh,
won't
right.
be, as it's my birthday next week. No, not next
Oh,
week. There's
I
the
didn't-
week after. Sorry, there's my birthday, which I will be here for.
Oh, birthdays. Okay,
But
that's not a problem. We'll do the 17th then.
yeah, 17th should be fine.
Alright,
Which
cool.
is my
Well,
birthday, but I should be here for that. So I think I don't
Oh,
think
right,
I'm
you're
going
doing a
I'm
to-
going out
celebration
with
of the
my
week.
parents next Friday, so I won't be around.
Which means I get to dog sit.
Yeah.
Alrighty then, we'll do it that way. The 17th we will finally have Grey Khan's talent show. That's good. We've got a full session, start to finish, to do it that way. I kind of realized looking at the time. I was like, ooh, if we start now,
It's
halfway
also good
through,
because it gives me actual time to write down the lyrics and stuff, because I've not done that because of the
Yeah.
work I've had. So
it's helpful for all parties. Trust me, I need to do some more prep for it as well. All right, cool. All right then, we'll sign off here. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you all on the 17th.
Yeah.
Bye.
And join us Sunday for the carnival cards.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye bye.